Welcome back, listeners, to BizBlend podcast. I'm your host, Sana. And listeners, today's episode is going to be a little different because we are going to have a first hand conversation with our guest. Sarah Stahl will be sharing her story directly with you. I won't say much about her in the intro because I want you all to hear it from her. The lessons, the risks, the wins, the journey around burnout, leaving behind, and also building a more intentional business and life. So let's quickly dive right in. So Sarah, welcome to the show, and as always it is such an honor to have you here with us.
Always enjoy speaking with you. Thank you very much.
um okay, Sarah, let's begin with recognizing burnout because the trickiest part around burnout is, and I would use a more a heavier word. The scariest part around burnout is that you don't even realize, or you don't want yourself to be realizing that I am suffering through burnout. I'm not finding joys in the simplest and um the most favorite of my tasks or my hobbies or something that used to give me joy a while back. Now, I mean, I'm not able to even wake up, get up from my bed, do the simplest of the chores. So I've personally suffered a bit from burnout, so I can kind of connect with it. But let's try to explore your journey through it. So you were actually thriving in a marketing leadership role on paper, but then you ultimately walked away. So how and when did you realize that you were truly burnt out? And what were the signs that you couldn't ignore?
This is a really interesting question because I actually learned I was burned out from a friend. I'll call her a business mentor. So we went through a brand class together at the end of 2024, and we were actually paired together to build our brands. And so we meet weekly, and we have gotten to know each other very well, and we're very inundated in each other's lives and businesses now, and kind of working through that growth process. So her background is actually managing mindset and tracking burnout, which is so funny because I did not know that. So she found me in the midst of burnout where I was working at the time, as the marketing manager for a startup treehouse resort. And she was just so gentle with me. And as we got to know each other, she would just ask me questions. And the questions had nothing to do with work, they all had to do with how was I sleeping? How was my memory, my brain fog, my ability to think through complex problems and come up with sharp solutions? How much was I getting outside? She started getting into my life that way and asking those questions. And as we dug deep, she was kind of shedding light on the indicators of I was sleeping horribly. Um, I was gaining weight. I didn't have time to eat a proper diet, or I didn't give myself time to eat a proper diet, I should say, because we are in control of the burnout. I think we just don't feel it, or we're waiting for this to be over, right? We're always waiting for, let me just get past this month or this week and then it'll calm down. Um, but I think high performers tend to take on more and more and more, and it never calms down. And the burnout doesn't, you know, I think the burnout wasn't even in my mind. It was like, I'm a failure if I can't accomplish all these things. I'm a failure if I can't figure out a proper schedule. I'm a failure if I don't know how to balance work and life, right? So it's like the for high performers, it's no, I have to accomplish all of these things. Where she really gently pointed out, no, you're human and we have to work breaks in. And so I started thinking about what do breaks look like during my very hectic, busy days. They look like pausing, taking a walk, not answering a call. There are things that we can do. And as I started to do those, including one of the biggest ones was I changed my morning routine. So typically in the morning, I'm up very early. I go to bed early, but I'm up early. So I'm up typically around 5 o'clock in the morning. And I would start with emails and blogging and catching up on yesterday's work. And it just like started all over again the second I got up. And when she challenged me to find a way to start my day differently, that's when things started to shift for me because I started getting grounded in my day. And then my perspective started changing. I was like, I like sitting outside on my porch drinking my coffee, so I wanted that to last a little bit longer. I like spending time reading my Bible first thing in the morning. I like watching it rain, just like really simple things. I like being in the sun. So I started taking breaks. Like we live on a lake. And I would justify, "Well, I've been working since 5, so it's 3, I'm done. I'm gonna go take my kids and we're gonna go swimming." And I started incorporating that into my day because 'cause I'm like, "I'm only being paid for X amount of hours. It's my choice to be working longer hours and not to say no to the endless requests or demands to do more." I have control over that. So then I started taking the breaks, but the demands didn't stop. So then I started getting frustrated, thinking, I'm a human. I work with humans. We all are overwhelmed, overworked. We all know it. Why are we continuing to demand from each other and not giving each other the opportunity to rest? So I think my mindset towards my team started to change a little bit. And instead of getting frustrated immediately, I just would kind of start to work into the conversation of, hey, when's the last time you took a break? Or, hey, let's put work down and let's just have a drink of wine. Let's just sit outside and have some wine and just like talk and think creatively, right? Um, and sometimes it was received, other times it was looked at as being less productive. And so when I started to notice that the people around me weren't accepting the change in behavior because I was starting to protect myself because I wanted to get a handle on my health first and foremost. I wanted to get a handle on my core relationships with my family. I the response was, "Oh, you no longer see us as a priority, so we're not going to see you as a priority." And I think that that was the biggest both hurt and illumination. The people that you work with are not your priority, nor are you their priority. And sometimes when you work really hard with other people, you feel like you're in it together and this is my priority and these are my people. But when you start to pull away and take care of yourself, you start to see the reality of that. And I'm not saying there aren't teams that won't do all those things for each other. I would say that was my way of kind of accidentally testing, and the team I was on wasn't receiving it. And so I was like, well, I can't keep burdening myself to help make them happy if they're not concerned with my happiness. Um, so that was kind of the core of this isn't working anymore because this isn't really a team to me. Because a team would really care about the whole person and not just uh, the work functions they're bringing to the table.
And two things I can extract from here is first of all, a lot of us, and this is especially more and more, it's kind of uh, considered as a badge of honor, especially among entrepreneurs and founders, that you have to be constantly on your toes, working, and it's not only externally but internally also. It's kind of assumed, not assumed, but kind of presumed that. if I do not work, if I do not if I stop or pause, then it will be all out of my control. So I cannot even afford to take any breaks or cut myself some slack out of it, and just take a bit of maybe 15 minutes or half an hour of pause, take a walk, or do something that really rejuvenates me. So this is something, kind of it's kind of normalizing exhaustion as a part of success. But your experience through this, it really challenges that mindset, and also you know uh, kind of percolating it down to your team members, that you really understand from where you are coming and from where they're coming. So um that kind of synergy, it completely changes, because you, as a leader, you have been there, you have gone through their experiences. So it kind of, you kind of understand now that, yes, I need to impart a similar kind of culture among my team members as well, or the people I'm working with. So yeah, that's kind of thoughts I had, when you had mentioned.
Yeah. So the question becomes, um, and sometimes this is, I think, made to look prettier or easier than it is. But I think the question becomes, can we really do less and still be successful?
Mm. Yeah.
And I don't have all the answers. I don't have it all figured out yet. But in the shift that I've made and what I have seen happen in the last 4 months as a result of this shift, I am becoming more and more convinced every day, yes, you can still be successful and do less. And I'll give you a few examples. One example I have to tell you about my business partner, Charles. He and I have been working together in some kind of capacity for over 10 years, and we've always wanted to do something on our own. He's actually been consulting for a while, and all the jobs that I've held the last 10 years, I've hired him to do something. He's a master programmer, and he's my little secret weapon that I don't tell anybody about, and we've been wanting to start a business together. And he himself has also heavily experienced burnout, and he has seen me go through burnout because he's been working with me from a consultant perspective for over the years in all these roles. So as we're building our business, we are so gracious with one another. We both have a passion for the outdoors. We don't live near each other. But his unplug is to go camping at the lake, and he will not bring his phone. He is, like, gone dark for for days, and he just sits out there and twiddles with he makes, like, fishing lures and stuff, and he just, like, unplugs his mind from all of the overload, right? And so the way I operate is I go hiking. I go hiking every single week and I'm gone all day. I go like on 8-10 hour hiking trips.
Mhm.
And so we have a lot of grace for each other, understanding that when I say, and you could call it tapping out, if you will, when I say, hey, I have to take off the next 2 days and it's Wednesday, and you're like, I'm not going to be back until Monday, we totally respect it. And we
Mhm.
just keep up the slack on our end. And then when I'm ready to say I gotta take a couple days, he just keeps keeping up the slack on our end. So it's like an unwritten rule between us, kind of to your point about culture, right? So um I was testing them, not knowing what I was doing, but looking back, I could see I was kind of like testing, like, hey, is this gonna be accepted with the team that I had left? And it wasn't, but now it's accepted. And so that's kind of a little bit of the backstory of the culture that we're building now is no, we know that we're very good, each very good at what we do. And we also know as humans and as we're aging, we have to take really good care of ourselves. And we respect that space. And so what's happened in the last 4 months, I maybe work, if you want to call it work, a couple days a week right now.
Mhm.
And I'm still building, like, we're still in the building process, so we're not, like, fully solidified yet. But in the last month, I have been invited to be a syndicate writer on two of the largest publications within my industry. And I've been asked to speak at major conferences within the industry. And we have multiple clients that we're onboarding right now.
Mhm.
And that's just in 4 months. So we haven't even, like, launched our business. We haven't even come out and done any kind of marketing or any kind of traditional anything. I'm not even connected to the company yet. I haven't even developed a company page on our LinkedIn yet. This is all coming just from content on LinkedIn and being in conversations that are really important within the industry. And so I would say now I am working less and I am making more than what I was making in the role that I left. So while it sounds audacious to say, I left a role, a secure role to go out on my own,
Mhm.
the reality is when you have the confidence and the calmness to stand behind your decisions and believe in your vision and know that it's going to take time, understanding that nothing is an overnight success. And just going through the motions, or I shouldn't say the motions, but going through the proper steps of building, but making sure you're giving yourself time to take care of yourself, take proper rest, get better sleep, you're actually more productive. And I see that now because I have accomplished more in 4 months than I have in the last 2 years. And I'm doing about a fourth of the output.
Mm. I think that really, really proves this. That really, really proves this, and that is such an encouraging, you know, uh, encouraging perspective that you put towards kind of this misconception, and also, uh, Sarah. Uh, when you I mean you mentioned about that, even though you changed your morning routine and did all the things, but then still it was kind of frustrating to um, set up some, to entertain, or work through all the demands and the requirements all the time. And this is something that, it's natural to struggle with initially. So what kind of practices or approach, what kind of approach you follow to set up at least some kind of healthy boundary, while in communicating to your clients, or maybe the people you're.
Mm. Um, I've gotten really good at saying no. So, and it's not a mean thing, I would say that no can be the boundary.
Mm.
Just that in and of itself. But knowing what to say no to is challenging, especially if you are in like a and I've been here too. Like, I don't wanna act like it's all perfect all the time. Like, I have my struggling days as well. And so, you know, thinking to a recent day that I was struggling, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I have to have a client. Like, I have to have X amount of dollars to be able to, like, pay for my daughter's school," right? Like, I have to do those things. But the struggle there is you cannot put that energy out. You cannot put that energy out in your content. You cannot put that energy out in conversations. You cannot put that energy out to your clients because all of a sudden they feel that desperation. And I'm saying that because I have learned that in the past. I have put that energy out and all of a sudden people aren't willing to pay you very much. They break through your boundaries and they ask for you to do a lot of extra stuff for free. Um so the fact that I've done the work to control my fears publicly, right? Like that's why I have a husband. That's why I have a best friend. That's why, I vent to those people. I do not bring that to the marketplace, if you will, because now that devalues what someone's willing to pay, right? And so I have a specific client in mind. I know who I want to work with. I do not want to work with people who are looking for a social media manager. That's not where my level is anymore. I'm beyond that and I have a very specific offering. And so there have been people in the last 4 months that have come to me and said, "Can you just quote me for social media management and email blasts?" Unfortunately, I cannot. I could recommend somebody to you, but that's no longer in my wheelhouse.
Mm.
I'm more strategically focused right now. So I say it kindly, but I already know, like, no, I'm not going to take that low hanging fruit. And that's a lot of time for me to be a social media manager, even at a contract level. And that does not reach my financial goals. So I have a very specific customer in mind. I know what they need. I know what they're willing to pay for that because I know the results that I can bring. And so I'm very confident and rooted in that. So when somebody comes to me who is not my ideal customer, I either recommend them to somebody else or I say, you can book an hour call with me and that costs $250. So you could book an hour call with me and I could talk out strategy. I could help you figure out, point you to a solution. But I'm not going to be your social media manager. So I think knowing who you are and the goals that you have are really important. And I think that where I found that is in my time with the Lord to understand who I am in him and what I'm on earth to accomplish. So it's much bigger than just getting a client, right? And I'm really confident in that.
Hmm. Oh, that is very intentional. Very intentional.
But
So
that has taken me 43 years. So to know that I if we would have met even 5 years ago, none of these words would have come out of my mouth.
that is true. That is true.
So imagine what we'll be talking about in 10 years. Yeah.
Oh, awesome, awesome. So before we wrap up, Sarah, of course, if our listeners they would like to connect with you, what would be the best way?
Yeah, they can connect with me through my website, sarahstahl.com. I'm also very active on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out there as well.
Super. I'll make sure to have all the links in the show notes, and also, any one piece of advice you wish, especially for professionals or entrepreneurs who maybe they are deep in burnout right now. I mean, what's the very first step that they can take, or any piece of advice that you would like to share?
You are more important than the person you are working for. And I don't like getting into the too much into like self-love, but I do believe that we do need to understand like a hierarchy of where we are in life, and you are more important than the person that you work for. And so think on that, and what does that look like to you in your life and the people around you?
Super. Thank you so much, Sarah. And, thank you so much for being candid and sharing your story. And I hope that this conversation gives everyone the courage to pause and make choices that serve them long term. So, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Happy to be
And to
here.
all the BizBlend listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Please share it, this episode with someone who might need to hear it today. Until next time, keep blending bold business moves with balance and intention. Thank you.